I went to court and they would read all the physical evidence off, like the fingerprints wouldn't match me, the hair didn't match me, nothing at the crime scene matched me, but they still persisted that I was the one committed this murder through a confession. This is what he said, but they not telling you, the police that come to court, they're not telling you what they did. They're not telling you they choked you and made you confess to a murder. My name is Kevin Bailey, and I spent 28 years, 7 months, 3 weeks, and 2 long days I spent in prison.
Kevin Bailey was falsely convicted in 1990 for the murder of Lula Mae Woods, the wife of a retired Chicago police officer.
I was at my home. One of the officers called me and said he wanted to talk to me at my home. He got to my home and said, come with me. Okay, from 6:40 in the morning, I got the call from the Chicago police. Around about maybe 7:15, 7:30, I went to the police station, and maybe 9:30 at night, I went to the police lockup.
Kevin was interrogated by detectives who had served under the notorious former police commander, John Burge. Burge was in charge of the now infamous Midnight Crew, a group of Chicago police detectives who coerced confessions by torturing suspects through beatings, suffocation, electric shock, and even Russian roulette.
I was thinking about maybe in a few hours I'll probably be at the police station, but it turned kind of brutal where they was trying to get me at that time before I confess to a murder. And eventually that's what they did through hours of interrogation and putting his hands around my throat and choking me. And I had felt I had to confess because I felt no other alternative, that either do that or get another choking or maybe possibly a beating or maybe a killing. Well, at that time I didn't think that I would go to prison because I know I had nothing to do with Miss Lula Mae Woods' murder. Thought maybe once they go to court, they'll get it straight and settle it, but they was on anything but settling it. They wanted me in prison, and that was that.
Hair and fingerprint analysis failed to implicate Kevin's presence at the crime scene. The only evidence linking him to the crime was his confession, extracted in the interrogation room.
I know at trial, when they said that no fingerprints matched me, no blood, no kind of physical evidence matched me, no concrete evidence matched me, but they still persisted to send me to prison. And they knew that when they sent me to prison, they knew I wasn't the one that committed that crime.
On October 18th, 1990, the jury convicted Kevin of first-degree murder, armed robbery, and burglary. He was sentenced to 80 years in prison.
After I filed appeals and kept losing them, I really didn't think I would get fully exonerated, but I was maybe a chance would come about. Watching a program one day on, I think it was 48 Hours, and they said they could take DNA off a strand of hair. So I would just go to the commissary canteen and I would buy a bunch of envelopes and I would write anybody. Maybe sometime I would maybe go through a phone book, flip through a page, pick a lawyer. I would write a McDonald's if I saw the address on there.
The Innocence Project took Bailey's case in 2006 and requested new DNA testing, which excluded him. By then, numerous defendants had accused Lieutenant John Burge and his Midnight Crew of torture. It was around this time that Bailey's lawyers advocated for a closer look into his case. After reviewing the details, a judge vacated Kevin's conviction and he was released in 2018 after spending nearly 30 years in prison.
And when this happened in June 7th of 1989, I had just turned 19 years old, and 28 years, 7 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days. After that, I was 48 years old. I got out on a Tuesday, January 30th of 2018, and the night before January 29th, I was sitting in a room 6 by 9, and it was ironic because the next night, I was out at 11 o'clock at night walking to a Walgreens 2 miles away, just walking. If you're gonna arrest a person and prosecute them, at least have the right person. That's the only thing I've had for the politicians. What they need to do is change the law system. At least have the right person.